At the top, they scuffle again with a small group of officers who give in after barely a minute. The mob now has direct access to Capitol entrances.
I can't believe this is reality. We accomplished this.
As they said to the police officers, part of the thousands of harrowing videos from that in-depth documentary analysis by the New York Times that offers new insight into how January 6th happened and why. With us again tonight, Eugene Robinson, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist for The Washington Post, and Matthew Dowd, the founder of Country Over Party. In the past, he's been the chief strategist for the Bush-Cheney presidential campaign back in 2004, among other roles. And Matthew, I want to begin with you because of these 2 Republican votes in the House. That's as good as it gets these days. Question is, how long can that caucus continue to insist the earth is flat? And I note the point you made to Nicole Wallace today that I'll call truth in labeling. You're asking for everyone to stop blaming Trump and start blaming the Republican Party, start blaming the modern GOP.
Yeah, and I think that's a fundamental part that we have to end up with. To me, there were so many people that thought Donald Trump, if he loses and once inauguration comes for Joe Biden, it'll all be better and it'll all be better. Well, it actually is worse today. In my view, it's worse today than it was before Election Day. And I think as we keep going forward, even if Donald Trump was to leave the planet, we never heard from him again. This is who the Republican Party is today. They wouldn't be only doing this because of what Donald Trump's doing this. They're doing it because the vast majority of their voters have been told this, have been lied to, and have also acquiesced to it, but then have participated in this. And I think that's where all of us, whoever we're voters, whether we're active in politics or whether we're in the media, have to really fundamentally call this out. There's only one actual Democratic Party today, a party that believes in democracy today, and that's the Democrats. I want 2 political parties that believe in democracy. We don't have them today. We have one that's autocracy and one that's democracy, one that doesn't care about holding an insurrection accountable, one that wants to hold it accountable. And those 2 things at that point have nothing to do with Donald Trump in 2022 and 2024.
Eugene, I want to sample a bit of some very powerful remarks today in the well of the House of Representatives by, let's put it this way, the only sitting member of Congress with 5 bullet wounds.
My heart's racing right now, and I'm trembling, in part because I'm recalling what happened to me on January 6th. And I thought at that moment, my God, I survived Guyana, but I'm not going to survive this in the house of democracy in the country in which I was born.
Congresswoman Jackie Speier of California, who famously was left for dead on the tarmac at what later became the Jonestown Massacre in Guyana. Eugene, not only did the Republicans who voted the other way hear those remarks, perhaps look her in the eye, surrounding them in the gallery, the same gallery that was evacuated on 1/6, were members of Metropolitan PD and Capitol Police who were there that day to protect the lives in that chamber. That's a lot to ask for, to vote against all of that.
And yet Republicans did. Republicans have heard the stories told by those police officers. They've heard how they were beaten within inches of their lives, many of them seriously injured, suffering PTSD from what was really an unprecedented, awful, world-changing event. January 6th was a very, very big deal. And Republicans want to pretend that either it didn't happen or it was just some sort of minor blip and it all can be put behind us without even bothering to find out what exactly it was, how it was organized, how it was financed, and exactly what happened. That's appalling, as Matt said. That is the fault of the Republican Party, not of Donald Trump, who is not in office now. And Democrats have to deal with that. And so they have to proceed with a select committee that will investigate to the best of its powers. And that's what we're left with. It shouldn't be this way, but, that this is where we are.
So, Matt, I have an impossible task for you. In all of 60 seconds, what concerns you most about these immediate months ahead of us?
What concerns me most is that it's going to get worse than what happened on January 6th, because we have people that have been pushed and instigated and lied to and believe some crazy stuff. And there's 300 million guns in America that we have spread across the country. And that really concerns me. I think we can get through this. But I think it's going to take a series of devastating losses on the Republicans' part. But in the immediate, I'm concerned that January 6th was just a preliminary event for worse things that could happen and more loss of life in the course of this. And it's a very, very scary thing.